This is Coda Radio, episode 100 for May 5th, 2014. Hi, everyone, and welcome to Coda Radio, Jupiter Broadcasting's weekly talk show taking a pragmatic look at the art and business of software development and related technologies. This episode is brought to you by our two fine sponsors, DigitalOcean and Linux Academy. I'll tell you more about those great sponsors as this year's show goes on. My name is Chris, and joining us every single week for 100 weeks is our excellent host on the East Coast, Mr. Michael Dominic. Hey there, Michael.
Buenos dias, felicidad siento, amigos.
Wow, man. Well, happy Cinco de Mayo to you too, buddy. Yes. And 100 episodes too. That's pretty awesome.
Yes.
Are you feeling good? We're doing an evening edition of Coda Radio just to kind of change it up a little bit.
This is a saucy after-hours edition.
Right.
Now, Chris, you and I are gentlemen of the city of Manhattan, right?
Yeah.
What are we drinking?
Oh, well... I'm having myself an ice water right now. So yay me.
Like straight up Don Draper style, right?
Yeah.
And I'm having coffee.
Oh. Yeah, we both overdid it. Well, actually, we both have had colds recently.
Yeah.
Today, I feel like I'm in the final home stretch of the cold. I still have a bit of a cough, but the nose isn't going like crazy. I was doing a lot of dancing during the last couple of weeks of shows with muting the mic, blowing the nose, then coming right back on mic. It's not
actually
fun.
Chris, I went to the clinic to see, just what was going on with my cold. And I don't do anything small, right?
Right, of course not.
The doc's like, let me tell it to you straight. You got walk-in pneumonia.
Whoa.
I'm like, of course I do.
That can go bad. My dad had that, and it lasted like 3 months.
Really? Everybody I talked to this week says, yeah, my grandfather had that. He's dead now.
Ooh.
It's been... Yeah, terrible conversation.
So you gotta get on. You know what you need to do? You gotta get on top of that.
Get it out of here.
Get it out of here. You just don't.
But you know what? I'm feeling good. I'm feeling up. So let's fix that. Let's read some emails.
All right, let's do it. Our first email comes in from Emil, and he writes in and he says, I want to close to unsubscribe. I chose to unsubscribe from Coda Radio over a year ago, and every episode since then, but I haven't done it yet. What I like from your show is the wideness of its scope and the relaxed formula of your show. What I dislike is the total fanboyishness of Michael Dominic that never managed to hide it enough to believe just a single episode that he could ever give a clear look at anything not Apple-related. I understand. Oh, hi there. I understand that his devoutness and resilience is golden to you, Chris, but now this is enough of this crap. I don't care about Apple. I work around Windows and Linux technologies. I'm effing tired of hearing MD pseudo-reviewing a Linux or Windows thing to hear him shoot an idiot and then shoot an idiocy that just Apple fanboys could think to be clever. So I suggest you rename your show to the subject's title, and maybe I'll be back someday when there's an open source Coda Radio or something like a real Coda Radio. I guess MD will feel this is getting him closer to getting everyone a crapple fanboy. Farewell! Cut you to the core, didn't he?
To the core of my Apple. No, I'm done.
I always like it when people email in and say we talk about any particular topic too much, because I feel like if you actually had a way to statistically analyze what we talk about, I think like Ubuntu would be pretty up on that list.
So if we were to go by, I don't know, market share,
right,
we do way out of proportion in Linux's favor.
You know what it is though, is you just have this really great natural trolley style when you make an Apple comment, and he totally hook, line, and sinkered the bait. Because you could say something tongue in cheek, and if somebody takes it the wrong way, they think you're being serious, and get all fired up.
So I can promise Emil one thing. One, he spelt my name wrong.
Oh yeah.
Just a little tip. When writing hate mail, I've been known to do to my congressman several times.
Oh, sure. There you go. There's a good one.
You really want to make sure there's no grammatical errors, and you want to be as formal as possible. So, Mr. Fisher, Mr. Dominic, thank you for reading this. You started off real good.
Yeah.
But there's a few other issues in here. First of all, I don't know how much you've listened to the show. The Apple guys don't like me. And if you look on the internet closely, they haven't been subtle.
Yeah.
They really, and I haven't we're not friends. Um, in fact, they've screwed me in a number of material ways, and I've raged out on them in a number of
You know what I
angry
feel like it
ways.
is that's an interesting way to
Yeah,
look at it, and I feel like you know, I say taking a pragmatic look at the art
right.
and business of technology because you know, at the end of the day, you are a pragmatist too, and I think that's where some of this comes from. You know, especially for somebody who's in your area of work.
And I think there's I kind of think what Emil is picking up on is either one of two things: Linux and security, which we don't need to go through that, or there is kind of an Apple click. He's right. But if you paid any attention, you would know that I am definitely not in that. And they definitely don't like me. Um,
Oh,
guys, three Google searches would probably do it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Now, don't feel too bad. Don't feel too bad because, you know, actually, and I should warn Emil. You know, if look at June, man, you have WWDC in June and Google I/O. So guess what we'll be talking about in June?
Yeah.
That's sort of also a cyclical nature of it. But don't feel too bad. It's episode 100, and guess what? Stuart wrote in with some really
Oh,
good feedback. He says, "Hi, Mike and Chris. I just want to write in and say I loved episode 99. I'm a college-age viewer taking a year of leave of absence who's been listening since last October. Your show has been very valuable to me as an educational resource, and I would like to I recommend it to all of my aspiring developers and CS majors. I've often wanted to leave feedback but haven't made time, so I figured I'd at least write you in to wish you a happy 100th episode. When I leave my day job in a week, I'll be a regular in the chat room. Best, Stuart." He says, by the way, well, he loves all the coffee talk. He's all in on coffee talk. He says maybe sometimes we could switch it up with a little IPA beer talk to avoid coffee radio accusations. I like how everybody just inserts thing radio, and then that's what we are. We're coffee
yeah.
radio. We're Apple radio. I like it. You know what? I get the same thing on Last though, so it's fine. I like the idea of a little beer talk. So this is an interesting trend. You know, Mike and I on the pre-show, we're talking about the last 100 episodes, and one of the things we've seen a lot is folks who are in school and learning. And I was just sort of postulating, like, I think what we are seeing through our feedback is a representation of a larger trend in education, pushing more and more kids into software development. Like, everyone needs to learn how to code. Coding is the future. Everybody should be a software developer. And I think some of that is getting into people's heads. And then you have, I don't want to call them kids because, you know, they're obviously have all levels of responsibilities and things like that, but kids and young adults go into school and they're really struggling to fully understand and wrap their brain about what it is they're about to commit the rest of their professional life to. And I think we're seeing those trends come out over the last 100 weeks of doing this show. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't. It's strange because I'm not sure why this would happen.
Well, I think it's like it's going to be the new economy, right? We're going to make all virtual goods. That's why intellectual property is so important now. You know, everything that, you know, I suspect a lot of people feel like the future product of America is probably of the United States of America is a lot of it's going to be software type stuff, you know, digital stuff. And so I think a lot of it's like, hey, kids, there's jobs in software development. Look at these app stores. Look at all these computers. Look at all these tablets. There's more devices than ever. So let's say we need more programmers. So everybody get out there and go program. Which we've talked about a little bit and not so sure it's a great idea.
Well, I'm not sure. I wouldn't say that I've seen an upswing in college students. I've definitely seen a lot of these like code boot camp kind of things,
Sure, yeah.
and those are. I've not seen one that has really great results.
Yeah, I mean, I know there's like this there's can't remember their names right now. It's a ranch one. I can't remember the name.
Oh, the Big Nerd Ranch
Yeah,
thing.
the Big Nerd Ranch. I mean, I hear good things. Do you hear bad things?
They're out in California. I mean, I'm mostly dealing with stuff in New York.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I don't hear bad things. What I hear is they make a lot of promises. And I've interviewed one or two people from, that've gone through the program. It's certainly not or in my opinion, not the best way to go about learning coding,
Mm,
right? It would be supplemental.
mm. Yeah, sort of refresh or enhance an existing skill set.
And to be fair, I'm not one of those people who actually thinks everybody needs to know how to program.
Yeah, I'm not either. And I don't want to be a jerk and be like, I just, I don't know. I think I believe certain people have more innate talents for certain things. Like, I couldn't build myself out of a wet paper bag. Like, if I had to assemble, like, I'm proud of myself that I managed to put my Weber barbecue together, and I still put that together slightly wrong. I mean, it's completely functional, but if I would have done it right, I would have had, anyways, I got to handle the wrong spot. My point is, I don't know if it's because I never do it, or if it's because I never end up doing it because I'm just not naturally inclined to want to do it. Whereas, the technology stuff and obviously the broadcasting stuff, I've always been naturally inclined to want to pursue that. And I've always just felt like that's what's kind of great about the race, is that we kind of work in harmony, because some people are naturally inclined to do some other things, and some people are more naturally inclined to do other things, and we all kind of balance each other out. And if you just focus on... It's almost like it's almost like boiling down the entire computer industry into like some weird concept that educators sitting up in a big government building think the computer industry is like, and they sort of have just simplified it as, well, if you're going to get into computers, you need to code, and it's just, that's it right there.
I mean, yeah, there's admin, there's other stuff too. I guess my other issue, anybody who's listened to the show knows that I don't hold universities and for this field such high esteem. I mean, how many times have I asked someone to do FizzBuzz, and have they started with doctype HTML, and then I just cry.
Yeah. No, I follow you there.
These boot camps, and I'll be brutal. I mean, most of the ones I've interviewed, folks who've come out of, they're Rails boot camps, where they're like Node.js. They're like very hipstery, very cutting edge kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, Rails obviously going back a couple of years.
But don't you think because that, I know we're kind of retreading some ground, but it's episode 100, so why not? Don't you think that if that's where like the guys like the Big Nerd Ranch are perfect, because the universities can focus on the fundamentals and the large concepts and the theory of it, but they're just simply not geared to teach a new curriculum every couple of years. Like if you follow the hip development stuff that people are getting jobs on, you would almost have to be writing new curriculum every year, and you'd have to have a teacher or professor who is up to date on that every single year. It's not impossible, and that might be a worst case scenario, but it's pretty close to the reality. Whereas Big Nerd Ranch, they're small, they're lean, they're focused, they are more capable. It's in some ways why you might have in-house developers, but sometimes want to contract out when you need something specialized in an area that your in-house developers aren't familiar with. Big Nerd Ranch and things like it are a way to allow you to still get nimble skills, to sort of hyper-focus on areas that are popular in the industry, but not necessarily take away what the university provides. Don't you think?
Yeah, but I think you're kind of setting up a false dichotomy there, right? I mean, it's not either universities keep up or they don't. It's either universities teach whatever we all agree is basic knowledge, which I would say isn't even math, but critical thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And, perhaps these boot camps do have a space, maybe retraining a guy who's been working for 10 years as a Java developer who wants to move over to, let's say, Node.js. I think he's a great candidate for something like this. But taking someone who's perhaps is working retail at Staples, I'm just throwing stuff out here, and then thinking they're going to, they pay $1,500 to go to this boot camp.
Right.
I think they're going to come out and get a software job. I feel like that's a little less honest, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And I think it's, when I'm reading all this, everybody should learn how to code. And I might be misreading it, but I'm not getting the impression that these people are arguing that developers should remain current. I would agree with that. I think they're making the argument, literally everyone from the waitress to, the guy who has been happy being a librarian for 20 years wants to learn how to code.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's fair. I think if you're a librarian and you're happy,
yeah.
Listen, I know nothing about being a librarian, right?
Right.
I walk in, in fact, I don't even remember the Dewey Decimal System anymore. And a librarian would wipe the floor at me on how to find. It's not wrong. It's not like anybody who doesn't program for a living isn't as intelligent or as bright as somebody else. It's just, I don't know. I think it's unfair, and it's, you know, don't get me wrong, if you're a shitty librarian, you're a shitty librarian, right? If you want to be a painter, be a good painter. If you want to be a librarian, be a good librarian. If you're a coder, be a good coder. But the fact that if you're a waitress, you should also be writing a Python script, between picking up orders, I don't think that makes a lot of sense. But hey, I'm a little old-fashioned, Chris.
No, I'm right there with you, buddy. You put it better than I could. All right, well, I want to just take a second right here, and before we got some more feedback to get to for this week. But first, I want to thank our first sponsor this week, and that is the great folks over at DigitalOcean. If you're not familiar with DigitalOcean, you need to listen up. It's simple cloud hosting dedicated to offering the most intuitive and easy way to spin up a cloud server. Your setup times may vary, but on average, you'll be able to set up a server in about 55 seconds, and pricing plans start only $5 per month. That gets you 512 megabytes of RAM, a 20 gigabyte SSD, one CPU, and a terabyte of transfer, all for $5. It's so awesome, and DigitalOcean has data center locations in New York, San Francisco, Singapore, and Amsterdam. And there are ways to move your droplets between the data centers. Their interface is very simple. It has a very intuitive control panel, and power users can replicate that control panel on a much larger scale with their straightforward API. And the great thing about that is we're starting to see some pretty great community apps. Mr. Dominic, I don't know, I think it was like a week or two ago, I told you about there's a droplet manager for Unity. Well, I don't know if it was the same guy or somebody.
I'm sorry, Chris. We've just exceeded our Ubuntu quota.
Oh, okay, right. Right, I'm sorry. Well, good news. I'm going to talk a little bit about Macs now. They made one for the Mac menu bar, too. So if you want to manage your DigitalOcean droplets just right there in OS X, by your clock, you can drop down. You can get all the status, the server, info, operating system, IP, if it's online. It's really handy, and it's sort of an example of when somebody builds a really nice API, a community will take advantage of that. And the great thing about DigitalOcean is they have a very developer-focused community. Developers love DigitalOcean because you're able to spin up an SSD-powered droplet that can be used from anything ranging from education and testing. We have a lot of folks in our audience who are building themselves a system to learn on. We have folks who are using a DigitalOcean droplet to run OwnCloud, to run Minecraft. And then we also have folks who are using DigitalOcean droplets to power the back-end infrastructure of websites and applications. That honestly, the range you can use DigitalOcean for is really astounding. And the way they've managed to wrap such a powerful service with such a beautiful and intuitive control panel for me is really the sweet spot. And the other thing, when we talk about reliability and when you're outsourcing a part of your infrastructure, how important reliability is, because that reflects on you as an application developer. Well, guess what? DigitalOcean provides a 99.99% SLA uptime. I heard a recent story about a customer who was affected for just a few minutes, and they received a very generous credit on their bill for something that was really a straightforward issue that is not too uncommon. It's a good example of DigitalOcean's commitment to this SLA. And I have had a droplet that has been running, gosh, I don't even know how many months now, but many months without any downtime. DigitalOcean combines the performance, the intuitive control panel, and then that incredible value. So go over to DigitalOcean.com and use our brand new promo code. Get ready for this, everybody. CoderMay. CoderMay for the month of May will give you a $10 credit, and you can try out that $5 droplet for 2 months, or you can get the fancier droplet and have it free for like a month. They got a whole range, and they also offer hourly pricing. So if you just need to do some testing for some app development or some web development or whatever it is, use our promo code and just get a great deal. We've gotten stories from the audience where you'll run it for a couple of hours and they'll owe like $1 or $2. So if you think about a $10 credit for that, that's going to get you some distance. So go use our brand new promo code CoderMay, and that lets them know you heard about it here on the Coder Radio program and you appreciate them supporting the Coder Radio program. CoderMay, and a big thank you to DigitalOcean for sponsoring the Coder Radio program. Such a great service, such a good fit for the show, because developers and like DigitalOcean are like one in one. It's like peanut butter and jam. It's awesome.
I actually I interact with the DigitalOcean server at least 30 times today.
Yeah. It's so handy once you have like a very fast, very responsive, and for me, what is so great is I'm now moving between the house and the studio so often that it's actually really advantageous to be able to have a go-between, and even when I'm just driving, to be able to have services that my Android phone can connect to, that it works regardless of what land I'm at or if I'm in transit. In the past, when I lived and worked out of my house, I would just use everything via the LAN. I didn't need to have any external access. I didn't need to worry about that kind of stuff. And so I was just all LAN all the time. But now that I've been out on the road, moving between locations, I can't really do that anymore. And DigitalOcean has really helped that transition. So, and that's why it's great. Coder May. Go check it out. All right, Mr. Dominic, are you ready we got a donation question. And even if we don't have a specific answer for him, maybe the audience will, or maybe you do. It's Erno. He writes in, he says, I'm getting close to launching a website that will serve the role of a public service to the internet community. The user will be able to create a list of cannot name it here, I don't know what that means, but he put it in quotes, to store or print later for use. My question is not about the service itself, but about the user's ability to donate to the project. I was thinking of a donate via PayPal button, but I'm having a hard time figuring out whether the donation should go through a personal PayPal account or a specific one created solely for the purpose of the project. Yes, at this point, I do not have a company or a foundation behind the project, and that's why it's going to be presented as a public service project. Any thoughts or experiences with getting donations to support non-commercial or a personal project? Thanks for considering my question, a.k.a. Tuxum in the chat room, and he says he's loving his brand new Galago Ultra Pro too, by the way.
So I don't know if this is still true, but I was on a project a few years back where they didn't have their foundation set up, and PayPal actually wouldn't process the donations because you cannot personally take donations according to the IRS or something weird like that.
Right. Yes, that is an individual. Yeah.
So I think you have to. I mean, get an accountant, but I think you need, what is it, like a 501c or whatever?
Mm-hmm.
You have to open some sort of foundation.
That is if he's using donations in the literal sense, where people will be able to do a tax write-off. If he means donations in the, hey, send me a few bucks to keep this going, like a tip jar kind of thing, then you could be an individual on PayPal. That's just a person-to-person transaction.
Yeah, I think you can't use the word donation, though.
You're not supposed to, yeah.
Yeah, I think they actually check, or they did years ago.
Yeah, it depends. If you show up on their radar and then they see you using it, then they'll bust you for it.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we've accidentally said it a few times, too, because a donation technically means, it's tax deductible. So don't call it a donation. I don't like tips. I think tips is trivializing. I really don't like it when podcasters say, hey, tip us. Don't say that.
Right.
Your work is worth more than a tip. Your worth is worth a fee. So, consider saying, hey, if you've gotten value from this, consider helping contribute to our run costs. Something like that. Just, and be clear what you're going to use the money for. And I think if you're clear, you present it properly, and you inform people where that money is going, you can be successful. And I think you probably need to think more about those things than you need to think about how to take the money, because at the end of the day, there's all kinds of ways to do it. I think, for straightforwardness, PayPal's good. Amazon Payments is fine. I don't know what about building something around Stripe?
I guess it depends. I don't know really what he's doing.
Yeah.
Or sort of volume of payments thinks he's going to process.
Yeah.
One thing I would say is I'm more likely to support or buy something via PayPal.
Yeah.
Only because I feel a little more secure. Take it for what it's worth, right?
Yeah, I mean, some people hate PayPal, but I too like if I go so. For example, there's a podcast I listen to, and then when they launched a shirt, I was kind of on the fence, but because they had a PayPal option, I was like, well, okay. Then at least then I know they don't have my credit card information on file and stuff like that. And I appreciate that, because I'm more worried about database breaches than I am about PayPal doing something weird to my, $12 shirt or whatever it was. All right. Our next email comes in from Nick. And he wanted to pick up on the remote worker thread that we've had for a couple of episodes. He says, Michael mentioned this, but I just wanted to confirm his suspicions. A lot of the work I do at my job involves tweaking long SQL queries, like 100 lines. It's common for me to spend about 3 or 4 hours at a time trying to figure out why only 85 or 90 of the rows I want from the database are being returned by a particular query. After several hours of testing and tweaking, I find the edge case where a join condition is wrong, fix 1 or 2 lines of code, and commit back. Every time I do a task like this, I'm glad I'm in the office, 10 feet away from my boss. I definitely feel like if I was at home where he couldn't glance over at my workstation and see what I have, that I have a bunch of SQL terminals up, he would probably assume by my short commits that I was just watching TV at home while on the clock. I feel sometimes like I could be more productive at home, like the pressure of having the boss always over my shoulder is actually quite distracting, but it would definitely be outweighed by my anxiety at the thought that my employers would assume I'm slacking off. Just my 2 cents, Nick. And this goes back to something we were talking about, where it's just like human nature, where a lot, unless there's a culture shift, a lot of folks, if they don't see a butt in a seat, they don't, you're out of mind, you must be screwing off. And so Nick was kind of picking up on that thread. I don't know about having my boss look over my shoulder though. Not so hot on that one. No thanks.
Yeah, I mean, there's that's probably a little further than I would even go, but I see his point.
Yeah. Well, what I like to do is I like to sit over Rikai's shoulder while he's editing and constantly make suggestions. No, I'm kidding.
Well, I mean, I haven't actually seen Rikai, but I get the sense that he's fairly handsome.
Yeah, he is.
So,
and he has an illustrious beard. He really has an illustrious beard.
So over his shoulder, under his shoulder, I could see it.
Under his shoulder, lost in his wonderful beard.
Yeah.
All right, our last email this week, and this, I don't know. Again, this might be one for the audience if we don't have any answers. But Rick writes in for CRM Solutions. He says, "Hey, Michael and Chris, I emailed a couple of months ago," and I was like, "Okay, well, if he emailed before and we helped him, maybe we can go 2 for 2." He says, "I wanted to create a contract for my clients' projects. Thanks for the advice. I ended up going with KISS. My question is just might be another KISS question. Obviously, I think he means keep it simple, stupid." He says, "I am running into the issue where I am working on multiple projects and having a hard time managing them. Task, billing, customer relations, priorities. I know that there's solutions out there like Salesforce or Zumuro or lots of other CRMSs. What I want is a solution that does the following." Now get ready. This is like his dream list here. Adds GitHub labels for priorities on issues, creates new GitHub issues, PayPal payment gateway, overall project status like the deadline, the deliverables, central source for asset contracts, policies, files. This way, it will be a cinch for adults and overall management of the project, for audits and overall management of the project. I'm really tempted to roll my own with GitHub and PayPal's APIs, but I know there must already be a solution out there. Love the show. Keep up the good work, Rick. And he even sent us in a picture of what his prototype would look like. He's got like an outline on here where he's got like the full project status, and then he's got the projects listed here, their due dates and things like that, and the project manager spot where you can assign somebody. Mr. Thomas, do you know of anything that would do a one like GitHub tie-in and PayPal tie-in?
Not currently.
Yeah. So you're saying Rick should build one?
No, I am not.
we would not wish that on you, Rick.
No, that doesn't seem like a small undertaking to me.
No, but if anybody out there has an idea of something, go over to jupiterbroadcasting.com and pop that contact link. Choose Coda Radio from the drop-down, or go over to codaradio.reddit.com and throw it in our fancy schmancy subreddit. I got something kind of cool. Are you ready for me to make a little bit of an announcement?
Let's do it. You're pregnant.
No.
Get it out of here.
No, not that.
Oh, wait!
But it's almost as cool. It is almost as cool, so watch out. We have a Fox News alert. That's right. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a Coda Radio 100 shirt. It's a hoodie and a shirt. And we also have a ladies' tee. And we got some great summer colors in here, too, and including black. So if you're just kind of a black person, then that's fine. And we have a ladies' tee. That's only available in black right now because of some limited color options at this time. But the hoodies also look awesome. We got a special episode 100 edition of the Coda Radio logo on a special Coda Radio shirt. Now, we decided to go this route. We weren't initially going to do a shirt, but the truth is we couldn't find a solution that likely wouldn't have ended up in some kind of disaster. Like we were thinking like a beer stein or a coffee mug, but all of the places we talked to and then got a hold of folks, and we did some serious digging on this, like a lot of them reported getting broken in shipment, and I really didn't want to go through that. And then the ones that we didn't have those reports, the quality was so low that I didn't want to do that. So what we have been able to establish a great relationship with Teespring, and we've gotten some really high-quality prints from them, so we knew we could deliver on something that we could rely on with this. So this is why we decided to go with it. It's a great way to celebrate Coda Radio 100. Now, here's what we're doing. We're not trying to make a bunch of money off this. Just like for the TechSnap 100 shirt, it's a low commit, 100. When you do a goal of 100, we're not going to make much money. And it's not about that. It's really about giving you guys a way to celebrate Coder Radio 100. You guys are probably fairly familiar with the drill. These are limited time runs. We will not be running this shirt ever again. It is only to celebrate episode 100, and it's available for 2 weeks. So we're selling it for 2 weeks. You go to teespring.com/CR100. Teespring, that's TEE, spring.com/CR100, and then pick your color and pick your style of shirt. I'm loving the red t-shirt, and there's also like a really nice like slate gray color too that I like a lot. So I kind of want one of each, but you can go make your decision. And Mr. Dominic, I was just going to suggest that you could also get the ladies' tee for the new wife.
Crap, I just ordered a bunch and didn't order a ladies'
You got to get one for your wife, man.
Damn it.
So go over to teespring.com/CR100 and grab yourself the limited time Coder Radio t-shirt. I'm pretty happy with it. Angela worked really hard on it too, doing a lot of the legwork with the research and working with the designer and all that kind of stuff. So teespring.com/CR100 and celebrate episode 100 of the Coder Radio program in freaking style. What do you think, Mr. Dominic? You like it?
I'm ordering another set right now.
Good man. Good man. I will put a link in the chat room too if you guys in the chat room want to go get it. I can't wait to get mine. Teespring has gotten really good at this process, and they've really upgraded the shirt material quality. So they're just really good shirts to have anyways. And so I do need some shirts. So what better way to get some new shirts than to have one with our own stuff on it? So there you go. I'm pretty excited about it. Teespring.com/CR100, and we'll have a link on the website soon too. You know what? Like, why not have a little fun for 100 weeks? And I got to say, too, like 100 weeks without ever missing a beat.
That's right. That is absolutely correct.
That's hardcore right there. Yes, there's a green one. I won't be able to wear the green one on air, but I really like that green. It looks sharp with the white 100, and it kind of fits our frame too that we use for the video version. And then the hoodie has a bright blue and a dark navy blue, and that looks really good too. So I kind of want a hoodie too, even though it's going to be summer. But winter comes, right?
Winter is coming.
Exactly,
yes.
Winter is coming at some point. So I think I'll end up getting a hoodie too. That's pretty cool. I likes that. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy it, and
sweet.
You should, if you get one, you're gonna have to send us a picture of it too. We love seeing those.
Yeah, we're gonna need to see that.
Okay, Mr. Dominic. One more little thing to take care of before we get into some shopping for you. Mike's not just yet, but in short order, looking to buy a new rig. And get ready for this, ladies and gentlemen. It's actually not a Mac. But I know.
Let me fix that.
Okay, yeah, there you go. Yeah, I wouldn't want to
to
disappoint our audience. I would not want to disappoint. But before we get to that, I want to thank our next sponsor this week, and this is really something. It's Linux Academy. Go to linuxacademy.com. Now, I am so impressed by what Linux Academy is doing here. I'm taking note myself and kind of being inspired by them while we're formulating our new How to Linux show. It is awesome training on all kinds of Linux-related material, and also on Amazon Web Services training. And how they're doing it is really great. They have built from scratch their own back-end infrastructure for this system that allows you to have this really great outline course that you can keep track of where you're at on your own time. You see how much time each section is going to take. They have step-by-step video introductions at the beginning of a course. When part of your class requires that you have a server backend infrastructure, their backend automatically spins up a virtual server for you, which is great when you're doing Amazon Web Services because you don't have to worry about the cost of AWS while you're trying to learn. And if you go to linuxacademy.com/coders, they're going to take $5 off. I think. You better double check, though, because I think that's a limited time promo. I think it's going to be expiring soon. So go over to linuxacademy.com/coders to take advantage of that special discount. And you can run any seven, there might be even adding more Linux distros in your training. They'll automatically adjust the training material to fit the distro that you've chosen, which is pretty sweet. They keep track of your progress as you go. Then there's quizzes at the end so you can test your own knowledge, because this is something that you can take as you have time. And you go through something like myself. I'm going to be honest with you guys. It would take me a few nights to get through one course because I'd probably do it in 30, 40-minute chunks. And I would want to, at the end of a couple of days, test myself. And I can do that. I can see where I'm at. They also have a community section where the active forums, you can talk to people about what they're working on. And you'll really love, especially if you're a fan of Jupiter Broadcasting content, you'll love their step-by-step video courses and their audio courses. I think you guys probably like listening to media like that, so they're going to take care of you if you want that. You can also check out, like I mentioned, their AWS development training. You can become an AWS certified developer or an AWS certified SysOps administrator or an AWS certified solutions architect. They're adding new courses all the time, like for OpenStack. That's a new one they've recently added. If you want to become trained up on OpenStack, you can go to linuxacademy.com/coders to get started. It's really straightforward. They also have team accounts. If you're in a group and you have a little business that, or a larger business that has some people that want to work, boom, Bob's your uncle. Guess what? Linux Academy's got you taken care of. They're adding new courses 2 to 3 times a week. This is why the monthly subscription makes so much sense, because you automatically get everything that's added and everything that's there when you have that subscription. So the value is sharp. I like it a lot. linuxacademy.com/coders. Go over there and train yourself up. I was just recently reading, I almost made it for the cut for Sunday's Linux Action Show, but out of all of the areas in the technology industry that are growing right now for system administrators, Linux skills are in such high demand right now. It is such a great time to become a Linux certified anything. I mean, it's never been better. So go over to linuxacademy.com/coders and just take your skill set up to the next level. Even if you're like me and you're self-taught, there's always something you could probably stand and probably benefit from seeing, like, the official way people recommend to do it. I've taken some of these courses now, and I would say, I was like, oh, well, that's actually a little bit better than how I do that. I'm kind of a little embarrassed that I didn't know that before now. And this is stuff that I've known for years. So it's a really, really valuable service. And you get unlimited access to all the courses, notes and study guides. You get to download those and keep them offline to read on your own. You get your own real Linux server to bang on. They have practice exams and exercises. It's pretty great. And you can also download lesson MP3s, which, again, if you're a podcast listener, it's a great way to consume that information. linuxacademy.com/coders. And a really big thank you to Linux Academy for sponsoring the Coder Radio program. Love those guys. They've really built something awesome over there. Mad respect for those guys. Okay, Mr. Dominic. So, a little birdie told me that, with the new hiring you've been doing, so there's been some shifting of gear around, and now you're down a rig or two, and it might be time to consider getting a new machine. So you're surprising me with your selections. Why don't you tell the audience what you're thinking about doing, then we'll kick it around.
Yeah, so I'm looking at two. I'm looking for a laptop. I'm looking at the Galago Pro, which some people might remember that I almost got once before, but didn't quite.
Yeah.
And that's of course from System 76.
Right. I have that right now. Did you know that?
I did know that. How is it?
It's great. It's really great. What I really like about it myself is that it's very quiet.
Mm.
My Bonobo, as it's gotten older, the fans don't make a lot of noise, but they're always running. And when it's right next to me, I start to get anal about it. I don't know why. It didn't used to bother me, but as I've gotten my space more quiet, then I start noticing more and more. Whereas with the Ultra Pro, I had Dota running on it upstairs in my office, went down to make dinner, forgot to close out of it, and then came back up while it was still on the screen.
Nice.
And the fans still weren't going.
Nice.
Yeah, so I liked that a lot. And this is, they don't sponsor this show. I can say whatever I want. And I don't know how I'm going to send it back. It's like that. Also, it's really easy just to fold it up and carry it around. And then I particularly like, so I talked to a guy at Linux Fest Northwest who brought one, and the way they have it built is the back of the Ultra Pro kind of has a heatsink built into it, but it also works really good as a handle. So I can just carry it by that with the screen still open when I'm going from the studio to my office. So I like that a lot. And then the last thing that sort of is a must for me on a machine, just because of these type of media production we're doing, it has an Ethernet port, a gigabit Ethernet port, which for me is I cannot not have a computer without an Ethernet port. I don't care. To me, the MacBooks are crazy because they don't have an Ethernet port without a Thunderbolt dongle. That's ridiculous on a computer that expensive. And I guess there have been complaints about the keyboard in the past. Mine has the newer keyboard. I like it. I think it's pretty good.
Right. So that's a guy at work has one, and that's an area. I've used it. I don't love the keyboard,
mm-hmm.
and I also don't love that it's a matte screen.
Oh, yeah. You know what? I didn't even think about that, because I go matte because of our lights in the studio.
So the other one I'm looking at is this XPS Touch 15 from Dell.
Right.
Now, right off the bat, I don't love that it's touch because that means you're paying a premium. And boy, are you paying a premium. It starts at $1,600.
Oh. Okay. Okay. Yeah, and that's i5. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So it's pricey. And frankly, I was looking for, it's funny. I think if I had it my way, I'd get an XPS 15 that didn't have a touchscreen. And that would probably be the machine.
So they don't make one without a touchscreen?
I could not find it.
Hmm.
So one of the issues is I definitely want a laptop. I would like to run Linux on it, but I probably want to play games too. That's see, it's a little bit of a conflict there. And the biggest thing I'm noticing between them is the Galago seems to be a little more focused in its design, the parts they're using.
Mm-hmm.
That it seems like, A, for less money, I'll get a more performant machine. Just in general, right?
Well, I'll go. So let's go. So starting. So the Galago starts at $999.
Yeah.
You can't change the processor. It just comes with an i7 at 2 gigahertz.
Right.
You'd probably want to go up to like 8 gigs or 16 gigs of RAM, right?
Yeah, I'd probably configure it with 8.
Okay. And then an SSD drive, right?
Yeah, that's, yeah.
What? Like you want like a 200 gig or 250, or you want bigger than that?
250 does the job.
Okay. So we'll go to 250, and maybe we'll do an Intel 240. It's a little more. So I don't know. Do you have a preference between Samsung or Intel for the SSD?
I don't, unless there's something wrong with the Samsung.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
One thing that's kind of cool about this machine is if your first drive is mSATA, so say like we just, for funds, go with a Crucial 240 gig mSATA, you can actually put 2 hard drives in the Ultra Pro, which is pretty crazy for a machine that thin.
Wow, okay.
Yeah. Upgrade your wireless. So I'd say, and maybe, do you want an extra AC adapter?
No.
Okay. So $1,252 is the price as configured, which is not bad at all, actually.
Right. I'm somehow at 1263, but that's...
Oh, okay. Well, it might be something a little different. Oh, probably different drive.
Different drive. I picked the 840 Evo.
Yeah. I went with the... I changed mine to the Crucial mSATA, so that way you could have a second drive down the road if you want. Yeah, I mean, for me, I didn't try... I was a little curious how it would run Windows. I didn't try it, but I have been playing the hell out of games on that thing. We just did a whole gaming episode of last. It's incredible how far... I was just telling this to the guys after the show. I remember when Intel graphics couldn't even properly play back HD video, right?
Right.
And so now here I am. I'm playing Star Conflict. I was playing Team Fortress 2. We were playing Roller Dodge Derby Disco Ball, whatever it was. I was really, really impressed. They're not the best looking graphics, but I was able to play Dota. I was able to play all the games I wanted. The only difference would be like if there's a game that's only in Windows, right? But I think you would really have no problem dual booting.
Well, I think with a 250 SSD, you're not dual booting, right?
Yeah, it's a little tight. Yeah, but you could always, you could always down the road add a second drive. So I think, I can't remember, I think either the keyboard pops off or the bottom pops off, and there is the PCI Express type connector where you can just, you could get something off of Newegg in a year and then put Windows on that or something.
As I've been doing this shopping, what I found really interesting is that there's not actually a lot out there in terms of the higher end.
I agree.
Where you're not getting ridiculously thick gaming laptops, that are just not practical for me.
Yeah, you start saying, okay, well, guess what? I want a high resolution. And I would like to have at least maybe an i7 or a high-end i5. I would like to have X amount of RAM. It's pretty interesting how fast you can move into like really big rig territory.
Right. And it's, on the Dell side, I'm looking at the XPS 13 or the 15, and the 13's a little overpriced, especially if you go with the Sputnik edition.
The Sputnik? Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Way overpriced.
Yeah.
You're better off buying the Windows one and then wiping it.
Yeah, and then you get the Windows license too.
What's funny is all of these machines, now, Chris, I'm going to take my fanboy hat off, are more expensive than the comparable Mac.
Really? Even the Ultra Pro at $1,200?
The Ultra Pro is close, but the Dell configurations are a lot more.
How
And,
now? I know
and
for
it's the touchscreen. It's got to be that
yeah,
touchscreen.
probably. How important for you is Ethernet? I mean, do you think you could live off of
Not at
wireless?
all.
Yeah.
Couldn't care less. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. For me, I don't know, man. We have a lot of wireless APs in our neighborhood. Like I think there's in range like almost 50. So the wireless sometimes gets really congested here. So Ethernet's kind of a must. And I just like having that option so much. See, the great thing, I don't know about the Dell internals, but the great thing about the Ultra Pro Intel is they're all pretty much Intel, right? It's Intel network, it's Intel wireless, it's Intel graphics, it's Intel CPU, Intel main chipset.
It's a much tighter system, not unlike a Mac. Sorry, guys. I see now. I'm just gonna keep going.
Yeah, I see. You're making me cough because it's like, oh my gosh, he's just gonna get them all fired up. You do it, man. You go for
So
it.
it's tough because, and I know this must be incredibly boring,
I don't
but
think so. I think people are always kind of kicking. There's at least some people out there in the audience that are kicking around these same things because what you're looking at is the same thing I've been looking at because I am also down a machine.
yeah.
And I as a result, am sort of constantly changing the studio setup every episode as I move stuff around. Like this week, I'm doing the visuals from the NUC, and I'm doing the Skype call from the Bonobo. Last week, I did the Skype calls from the NUC and the visuals from the Bonobo. And it's all, it's not conducive to a production environment where you're moving equipment before every show. So I need to get something, but I just don't know what. Now, you're going to get this decision, and then WWDC is going to come around, and then there's going to be a new MacBook with some fanciness announced.
Yeah, I don't know. Oh, there are the dogs. They have.
Nice. Sorry about the cough. I'm still getting over the cold. So I mean, that price there is going to be a lot higher. You're not going to be able to get in or out of that for probably below $2,800.
So the thing with WWDC though, I don't think anything Apple's going to release is going to improve my current OS X workstations in any way that I care about.
Yeah.
Because I'm not willing to pay $3,000 to get one that can actually, have a decent graphics card.
Right. That's the problem
and,
there. Yeah.
And my MacBook Air lasts like 9 hours, 12 hours, whatever. It depends on how I'm using it. But like, how much longer could it last that it wouldn't matter?
Yeah. Excuse me. Shane Kufel in the chat room is saying, have you considered a ThinkPad?
I have not. I didn't know they were competitive.
ThinkPads have a real loyal following. And I'm not comparing them to be the same, but like how Blackberries used to have, like, people who loved Blackberries just loved them. Like, they love the QWERTY keyboard, they love the design, they love the efficiency of the OS. I feel like ThinkPad lovers are kind of that same. Like, there's something about them they love. My problem with ThinkPads is they seem all over the map, and like in a really big way. Like, it's such a mixed bag. Like, some ThinkPads are great, some ThinkPads are total crap. Some ThinkPads, like, stuff changes on them, but they don't change the model number. It's just, they're all over the map. And I like, now they're like taking away some of the mouse buttons. I'm not a big fan of that. So I have a hard time getting around ThinkPads. And the other thing that I don't like about ThinkPads is I don't like that so many Linux users buy them thinking, well, I'm going to have a great Linux rig because everybody knows that ThinkPads are great for running Linux. And then it's like, okay, good on you. But guess what you just did? You just voted for another installation of Windows with that purchase. Now, I know that's not something that everybody cares about, but if you are somebody who wants to advance Linux on the desktop, it seems like buying from a Linux vendor where you're voting with your wallet to encourage that ecosystem is a better way to go than buying the laptop that you then bastardize and remove the OS from because the vendor can't properly support it because they can't get their head out of their ass and recognize this year 2014. That's my problem with ThinkPads, in a nutshell. But they're worth checking out. I mean, there are some of them that seem...
So, I mean, I've looked at a few other vendors. I don't know, because I'm in this weird place where, and getting into asking, I can wait a long time. Living life on a MacBook Air is not great, and my friend the Colonel Panic visits me a couple times a month.
No way, really? That sucks.
Yeah, but I bought into their enterprise support program, so they take care of it now.
You might check out the X1 Carbon if you don't mind the mouse situation. I know some ThinkPadders don't like the mouse situation on it, but It starts at 1100. Yeah, 1100. You know, what do you get? You get an i5 for that. You get a 14-inch display, 1600 by 900. You get Intel graphics 4400, which is you're not going to play games on that. But 120 gigabyte SSD.
And to be fair, games are probably secondary, right? It's gonna end up being a work computer.
Yeah, I know. I always say that, but then like that's the thing that always eventually eats away at me.
Right, and to be fair, that's exactly why I'm not just buying another Mac.
Trying to see if
Right.
you can upgrade the. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, here you go. Can you upgrade the graphics? No, you cannot.
No, you cannot.
Yeah, I don't think I can go back. Now that I've had my hands on the Iris Pro, I don't think I could go away from that. But they probably have a rig that has the Iris Pro.
It's funny if it weren't for that stupid matte display, the Galago would be a slam dunk.
So it's funny because I think that's one of those things where people really come down differently on that, and not to be an Apple fanboy, but because I don't really have a dog in that hunt, but
Right.
a lot of times glossy displays outside of Apple displays are pretty bad.
That's the other problem, right? The Dell Glossy Display
Yeah.
tends to have major glare
And
issues.
I'm saying that as somebody
Yeah.
who right now is looking at a Dell glossy display as we're doing this show.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you can ask, really, you could ask Zane or Zach in the chat. I tend to always buy Dell or Asus glossy displays,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I just they it's tough to get a good glossy display that doesn't, break down as soon as you decide to take it outside.
Right. Or in my case, the studio.
Is it really that bad?
Well, yeah, because there's
Oh, so
lights behind me.
studios.
Yeah, there's
Oh.
lights behind me that reflect on the screen, and it's bad enough that like if I'm gaming on this monitor, I often lose details in the game. I can't see it because they're obscured by the by the brightness. I'm looking right now. Let's see. I'm looking at Best Buy has a lineup of ThinkPads. Here's an Ultrabook, 14-inch, 4 gigs of memory, 120 gigabyte SSD, $1,000. That's not bad. I mean, so
Terrible.
I think ThinkPads are worth a look at least. I think
Yes.
they're.
I've been almost tempted to buy a Mac and slap Ubuntu on it, but
I don't know about that.
every time I've done that, there's been serious heat issues.
Yeah, because the SMC thermal management is the software only exists in OS 10, and then when you're in other operating
What's
systems,
wonderful, by the way?
Huh.
It's not included in the boot camp drivers.
no, it's not. Nope,
Yeah.
they've never written drivers for any other operating system. So even under
Yeah.
Windows, the thermal management ends up being the emergency threshold built into like the CPU and the graphics card.
So it just starts to cry when it hits that last.
Yeah, that last few degrees before
What is
it's
it?
overheating.
What is it like within 10% of the max or something? It
Yeah.
freaks out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so frustrating that they do that. And if they just made it that tweak alone, it would make it better to run other operating systems on
Well,
those things.
I understand why they don't do it for like Linux or pure BSD, but you do stay on the box that you support Windows.
Right.
You wouldn't do it for Windows.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of like my thinking. It's like don't sell it as a product and don't say this is a feature if you don't fully support it. And yeah, I don't know. So, that's sort of my last thing about it is like I'll get a Mac to run Mac OS if I need to, but otherwise I would give serious consideration to the Ultra Pro, and I would give another look at the ThinkPads. You know what? I'm not the right guy to ask about Dell hardware. My time in IT has made me biased against Dell. And I'm probably somebody's
Sure.
like listening. They're like, "Oh, what? I've had great experiences with Dell." But I'm just saying.
I am that guy. I've really had nothing but a great time with Dell, but my wife hates Dell. So
Okay, well there you go.
Yeah.
Right? It just depends on your on your past experiences. I definitely was more of a ThinkPad guy when IBM owned them.
yeah,
I don't know now that Lenovo owns them. I mean, there's still some ThinkPads that are very true to the original ThinkPad design, but I feel like they're deviating from that so far now. It's hard for me to kind of get on
yeah.
board.
Well, one thing I've noticed with the Dell, the low end is really low end. Because I don't know. I'll probably end up going with the Galago. What I'll do is maybe tomorrow I'll commandeer that guy's Galago and see
There you go. Just use
if
it
I
for-
can live with a matte display. I have a feeling it's one of those things that,
The display is particularly vibrant, I think.
right? I think if I wasn't either looking at a MacBook Air or at work, I have a cinema display. I wasn't constantly looking at a glass display.
Yeah, that's the thing is those are glass.
Yeah.
And that's why the gloss is different on those. It's
Yeah.
not a plastic thing; it's a glass thing. Which does on a laptop add a lot of weight. Putting that big glass on that thing on a laptop, that's
yeah, it balances it differently.
yeah. Although you got to think about it too. Like, so one thing, are you planning to go to events like WWDC in the future? Because you might get hung if you show up with anything but a MacBook.
I am not going to WWDC,
No.
but the one thing is I loved my 13 Sputnik.
Right? What happened? Did it die? What happened?
Someone poured a martini into it.
Oh, someone, right? Someone did that. Yeah.
It wasn't me. It was someone was at a party and was stupid.
It's just somebody else, but not you.
It actually wasn't me. No.
I don't believe you.
God damn it, Chris. It was not me.
All right. Okay. Fine.
I just wish that wasn't way overpriced anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, the hardware thing continues to be my biggest struggle in terms of cost, and like it's always a constant battle of trying to figure out what we need versus what we can afford to do. I'm pretty impressed by the Intel NUC. It's a pretty good little workhorse. We're using it in studio 24/7 now for something, so that's pretty cool. Oh, and by the way, chat room's pointing out there's some ThinkPads that have a spill-resistant keyboard.
Nah, thanks, guys.
That's hilarious.
Although, not to be a fanboy, this MacBook Air I'm on right now has had many a drink spilled into it and is fine.
I like that anytime you're going to say anything positive about Apple now, you have to have a built-in disclaimer. What is with that? It's how it is, though. I don't know.
Yeah.
The internet.
They're just...
Yes, I agree. All right, Mr. Dominic.
I mean, yeah, let's keep an eye on this.
Let us know what you do, and nobody's going to judge. It's whatever fits your needs, and you just go with the one that works for you. I, on the other hand, I'm going to have to figure out how the heck I'm going to afford an Ultra Pro, because
That's the other thing. It's a lot of money.
Yeah, after using it for a while, though, my Bonobo still feels really fast, but the Ultra Pro really never suffered any kind of performance issues, and I had it hooked up to dual monitors, and I was running a bunch of stuff on it. Every now and then, I noticed some slow screen draws when something was really, like on the web browser, like in Chrome, when I would close a tab, when something was really nailing the GPU. Like if I had on one monitor a game going, and then on my other monitor I had the Chrome browser open, when I would close a Chrome tab, sometimes there would be a little bit like a screen draw problem, but that's when I'm playing a game, it's not that big of a deal. So
not to keep the show going any longer than it needs to, but I would wonder this, and let's not sort of flame war. I've heard some rumors that Canonical maybe not so much focusing on Unity or Unity for desktop in the next release. You hearing anything like this?
Oh, I mean that's a fact. Yeah, I mean, well, so 1404 is going to be supported for 5 years, so you could always install that. And that was what you would get if you were to buy a machine today.
Right.
But yeah, they're just now discussing how they're going to handle some of these apps they have to build for the desktop, like file manager, an email machine. Because they need programs that can work in both a 4-inch touchscreen and then can work on a 30-inch desktop display, and that's going to require creating a lot of new apps.
As someone who develops programs for a 3.5-inch, 4-inch, and 10-inch screen, I can tell you that that's not going to be the same interface.
Yeah. What you are bringing up is one of my biggest worries about desktop Linux, because we've got coming up in the next couple of years a transition to a new display server, which is being handled right now in a very diligent fashion, and you're going to have certain distributions work out the kinks on that before others, like Fedora. There's already discussions that the next Fedora
and Arch.
Yeah, right. So some of that stuff will get worked out before it really affects desktop users, but we are going to have that transition. Plus, you've got Canonical going through this transition now, and this is a big one. This requires writing a lot of applications. This requires refactoring a lot of stuff, and in some cases, some of the stuff that we've come to expect to be feature complete is going to be 1.0 again, and that's going to leave a bad impression. And I'm fine. I'm right here. I'm running Arch. I've got GNOME. I think it's the best desktop setup I've ever had. I think it makes every other desktop I use feel like it's straight out of the 80s and 90s. And so I'm good. But I think people who follow sort of the mainline stuff a little closer are going to have a bad time, possibly. I mean, I'm worried about it. Jeez, I keep hitting the keyboard. Are kind of worried about it for the next couple of years. So we'll see. Because, it's something to worry about. But, Canonical does have that 5-year 1404 where, it's still desktop focused. This Unity 7 with improvements. Desktop apps reign supreme, and you could use it for 5 years while they work out all of the, mistakes and bugs and things like that. So it's not awful. It just doesn't mean you get to get the latest and greatest.
I guess. I feel like there's a little bit of a clock on it. That's probably not good, but...
Yeah. It seems like a bad time to be starting at 1.0.
Yeah. But, I mean, I think that's for a different day.
Yeah, maybe so. All right, Mr. Dominic. Well, I just want to leave folks with a little thank you for tuning in for 100 episodes. And don't forget, we'd love to hear from you. Go over to jupiterbroadcasting.com and click that contact link and choose Coda Radio from the drop-down and leave us your thoughts because we always like doing your follow-up. And Mr. Dominic, if we were going to point people in a general direction towards you, where would they go?
Dumanuko at Twitter.
Nice. Very good, sir. Very good. And you can follow me on Twitter. I am Chris LAS. It's a great way to get a hold of me, too. And don't forget, we do this show live over jblive.tv. Now, we did this one in the afternoon, or in the evening for Mr. Dominic, but you can always find out our show times by going to jupiterbroadcasting.com/calendar. All right, Mr. Dominic, I'll see you next week. And thanks, everyone, for tuning this week's episode of Coda Radio. Hope to see you right back here next